Any regrets looking back where you are today and where you came from?
In terms of my personal life, so I never gave myself an opportunity to meet someone as a partner. First, I don't have money to get married. I don't have time to nurture the relationship, and therefore there are no guarantees for her. So very difficult to form a proper relationship with someone that you have known when you had nothing. Electrophysiology has given me the platform to be able to be a present father. Once again, I like the word you used earlier on, demystify black fathers as absent fathers. I couldn't have expected relationship because I couldn't see myself having the energy and the time to do what I did for my daughter. And I said, I'm not going to have a second child if I don't think I'll give my whole as I did for my daughter. So it was difficult. So I decided for 2 years I didn't date because I also didn't want my daughter to be seeing different women all the time, coming in and out, So that was a sacrifice. It was difficult, but I derived joy in that I was teaching her certain values. And a personal story for me is my father came from a polygamous marriage. He has got 22 siblings, there are 23. His father had 5 wives. And he was a train announcer that, there's a train coming from Umlazi going to Obamashu.
Oh, that was cool.
It was cool if you've got 2 kids. It's not cool if you've got 23 kids. So my father left school at the age of 11, started working at the age of 12.
What's your relationship with your siblings today?
Man, Peter, do you have to go there?
It's very important and part of you.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Clock.
How do you deal with stress? How do you handle that?
Coping mechanisms that I have is I go for a run.
Manage stress by obviously being moments like this. Spiritly saying I'm going off the clock.
Just even a night out.
I'm listening to my favorite music. I go into one of the studios at the gym and I dance.
Some cocktails and rest and just do nothing.
I ground myself spiritually.
The right amount of stress is good.
Brian, welcome to Off the Clock. I know we've been trying to get this pristine time for us to talk a little bit. The way we do it here at Off the Clock is normally allow our guests to introduce themselves the way they like. So over to you, Brian.
Thank you for inviting me, Peter. Obviously, it was an honor, and I was more than surprised for you to reach out to me, because when I first met you at Medtronic, you were this big boss, and we never got close. But so I was very honored and surprised that you invited me here. But thank you. My name is Dr. Vezi. I'm a cardiologist based in Durban, UKZN, specializing in electrophysiology. Of course, when you're at Medtronic, even though we didn't work physically close, but we had intertwined our business, you as industry and I in a medical facility. So thank you very much for inviting me to come here and talk about whatever you want us to talk about today.
Yeah, great. We'll also, touch the electrophysiology about it, just unpack it a little bit, because a lot of people out there don't know what that is. But I think the thing that obviously driven me to the Off the Clock was to demystify people like you. People see you like this cardiologist who's fixing broken hearts, who's like larger than life. This show is really about to show the other side, the human side of you, and so that you more accessible, people can know that you got moods, emotions, and and you cry sometimes, and I realized that you also do your own podcast, which is I think very heavily weighted on the education side. I think it's a good thing, because I remember when we met, where I was at Medtronic, I used to do a lot of public speaking outside the company. People used to ask me, what does Medtronic do? What do you do? It sounds very electronic, the name. And at the time, to simplify it, I used to tell people that, we fix broken hearts.
Yeah, yeah,
and I think more you than me, I think, your day is all about fixing broken hearts. And how did you end up, becoming this super cardiologist? Because I think to be electrophysiologist that you are today is you have to be a cardiologist first and then specialize to. Can you just unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm born and bred in Umlazi, KZN, in the township. Went to a township school, which I love very much. At the time, it wasn't as great as it is now, Menzies High School. But I think the most important thing is that I have a father who supported me a lot. Was a present father. Many of us at home, because the school, as it was those days, I matriculated in 1987. So it wasn't great education, but my parents, particularly my father, made sure that I got every penny worth spending schools over weekends. I'll go to Indian-run schools to get more hours. And a group of friends, actually just 3 of us, we decided we were going to put more hours. So we'll come in the morning, spend at 6 before the school starts at 8. So we'll put in 2 hours. So by the end of the week, we've got 10 hours. And then just to digress a little bit, I feel up at Shell. Shell came up with the concept then that they were going to take the top 15 students across Mlazi. So we wrote a test, and then they picked up the 10 students who...
And you made the cut.
I made a cut. And then they gave us additional 16 hours. So by the end of the week, I had 10 plus 16, like 26 hours of time that I was putting in. So my parents allowed me to leave home early and come back home much later than other kids. And the major reason was that when I grew up in the township, in a sad way, I never had someone to look up to. I never been to a doctor's room, never, ever.
So
but I knew...
Never been sick?
Yes, sick enough to go to a doctor, I guess.
Or they gave you a bit of a Zulu motif?
Yeah, maybe, to keep strong, So I learned very early on that I didn't want to stay at Umlazi because of what was happening, not because of bad people, but because I said to myself, I don't want to wind up vegetating like most people that I saw in front of me. It's a sad story, but I'm grateful to my parents. So I was able to get decent marks in standard 10 to go to university. That's a whole story on its own.
But I mean, did you always wanted to be a doctor? I mean, I ask a lot of young people or kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Did you always wanted to be a cardiologist?
Absolutely not, because I didn't know there was something called cardiologist. So I had a passion for soccer, and I think I was quite good. It only hit me when I was 16 and I wasn't playing for any big team. And to convince myself that I'm good, but I don't have that opportunity, I said, oh, well, I'm from KZN, Umlazi. But, dreams, unfortunately, some of them, you don't see them through, right? You have to understand certain dreams have got expiration date. So when I was 16, I wasn't playing for any notable team. I decided, okay, what else can I be? And because of these hours I was putting in, my grades were improving, and I said, okay. When we applied, we just said there was maths, there was science, and I remember something to do with marine biology. I just put everything, to be honest. I said, whatever catches first, fine. So fortunately, all the universities accepted me for medicine, and my first choice was Medunza because it was far from home.
Oh, you wanted to get out?
Like I said earlier on, I just wanted to get out of where I was. But my parents told me, look, it's impossible for them to come visit me, or transportation to go to Medunza was just too far. So the nearest university that took me was University of Natal, now known as UKZN. So for that proximity, because also they couldn't afford residence. But when I went to university, fortunately I said, okay, I've got scholarship that included residence. So then that was medicine for me. So I could have been a marine biologist.
You went to Medunza?
No, I couldn't. I couldn't go to Medunza because it was too far from Umlazi.
Oh, okay.
My parents said, look, it's too far. We won't be able to visit you. And I think when you have to go back to school, we may not be able to get you a bus fare to get to Medunes. It's just physically impossible, financially, and for them to be there. So I end up at UKZN. So I could have been a soccer player, I could have been a marine biologist. It's just that my marks at the time were good enough, and I was fortunate to get to medicine. At UKZN, one of the subjects that I liked most was, obviously I didn't know about it first, was called community service. So community service demystify a lot of stuff, and we'll come back to that because you touched on that word of how we see patients. So
how patients see you.
Well, yes, but I think at the time it was more important for us because we were talking from top down to patients, telling them what to do. Yeah. And they kept coming back with the same conditions. So somebody decided, okay, we have to take these young medical students to the townships, to the rural areas. The eye-opening experience for me was going into male hostels, which were quite a lot in KZN, which is a terrible system based on apartheid system where they will take young men in their prime of life, 20, 22, and leave their rural homes to go and work in big cities. Even though Durban was not as big as Cape Town or Johannesburg, but there was a lot of people come from rural areas and stay there. And so they will be in this hostel, charge, let's say, 10 rands a month, which was a lot. And then someone will then bring someone to sublease under them. So you end up paying 5 rands. And then someone who pays 5 rands would sublease someone. So I know you won't believe it. So in a room that was designed for 4 people, we find 16 people.
Wow, yeah. It's hard to believe.
It's the truth. So we went to these hostels to see how people live. And then a penny dropped to say, look, you're treating this person for infectious disease, and they come back to this overcrowded space, and they catch it again.
Yeah.
So what's the point of mopping the floor if you leave the tap not closed? So it made me really like working with the people, because there are different kinds of doctors. So very early on, I knew that I didn't want to be a radiologist. I didn't want to be maybe anesthesiologist. I really wanted to see patients and see the progression of what we intervening with. Yeah. Which landed me to internal medicine. I started internal medicine in 1996, soon after my internship from Natalspruit.
You went to Natalspruit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went there for 2 reasons. It was a good hospital, and it was renowned for having fun, you know. For the first time being paid.
Those parties to welcome you.
Yes. We were earning 1,400 rands a month, and I remember Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma came in, when ANC came to power in 1994. Our salary was pumped up by like 95%. We went to 2,400, so we were jubilant. So I went to Natalspruit for that. As soon as I finished my internship, then I went back to UKZN because that was a familiar place for me. On the basis of community health and the experience of the patients, how they keep getting the same condition because of their social issues, decided, okay, I want to do internal medicine, which is largely a specialized form of family practitioner. You don't do any cutting, but you treat conditions. Unfortunately, as most people in the world, South Africa was hit hard, probably one of the hardest hit countries by AIDS. And medicine, when I went to internal medicine, was this particular segment of doctors who like to think, okay, you've got tummy ache, what are the possibilities, this and that. The surgeon will say, okay, we've got a tummy ache, it hasn't gone away, giving you paracetamol, Panado, let me cut and see. Quick to the point. Internal medicine were like, let's think about it, you know. So I like that. And then when AIDS started, just about 90% of the people were having HIV in KZN in particular. So we stopped thinking. Everyone was presumed to have AIDS.
HIV, positive.
And it worked well. We treated lots of patients even though there were no anti-AIDS drugs. But this particular moment, there's a condition called SLE. It's lupus.
Lupus,
Yeah, lupus. It can present like end-stage HIV. So this young girl, I was part of that, we did like 3 tests and they were all negative. And we couldn't figure out, clinically you've got AIDS, but the test says no. And we kept doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. Obviously, that was insanity, right?
Yeah, crazy.
Then I said, no, man, I don't want to do this. Doctors at this level I was looking up to as the thinkers in medicine couldn't figure out that and trust their own system that here's someone who's sick, this is how I get to your diagnosis. You do the test, tells you it's negative. You do another test, tells you it's negative. You're wasting money, wasting time. She died, of course, because by the time we got
You're not treating lupus, you were thinking...
It's HIV.
Yeah.
And then, but the test is negative.
Damn.
Yeah. So I said, no, I don't want to do this. So there was a guy called Bongani Mayosi, one of the greatest cardiologists.
The late guy.
Yeah. So he recruited me to cardiology.
To UCT.
UCT. I started in Durban. There were some political issues. You and I, same age, so we know what we went through. So Bongani was the first African that chaired one of the highest positions in academia, and
yeah, I remember.
Well deserving. It wasn't just because he was black. So he requested me to go to Cape Town halfway through, so I ended up in cardiology. But in doing so, I also met another great guy called, in English is Andrew, but he's Polish, Andrzej Ochrytlik. It's difficult saying him, so he's kind of, those 2 guys reshaped my future. Unfortunately, both of them are late. And they're both under the age of 55. Bongani at 52, AO at 54. AO was met with an accident. So that's how I got into electrophysiology.
Yeah.
And Bongani was very instrumental at the time. Said, look, we was very research driven and introduced me to electrophysiology because UCT had one person in the whole of South Africa that was doing electrophysiology. And electrophysiology, put simply, is we deal with the rhythm disorders of the heart. And I liked it. And the reason why I liked it was that, first, there were few people doing it, but more so, we as doctors, we manage quality of life. We hardly ever will put distance in terms of longevity. We treat what we can. Most of the conditions keep coming back. But we hardly use the word cure. So in electrophysiology, we could say we cured you, right? So I like that concept. And then through Bongani and AO, I'll mention this, I was one of the 3 first recipient of Discovery Foundation, which enabled me to leave the country and go to Canada and do proper training. So that's my route really from Umlazi, not knowing whether I want to be a footballer, to get into internal medicine. HIV disrupted everything. It made us doctors at the time to stop thinking outside HIV, and then got to cardiology and wanted something where I can say, I think I'm making a difference. I'm probably seeing this patient for the last time because the procedures that we do, and you will know because of your background, can cure the patient.
Yeah, no, it's a big impact. Very, interesting career, meandering, but I mean, in the real, South African world, any regrets looking back where you are today and where you came from?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not in terms of my profession. But maybe I just lied. In terms of my personal life, I moved from UKZN. Then I did masters in pharmacology in Pretoria. Then went back to UKZN. Then went back to then went to UCT. Then went to Canada. So I never gave myself an opportunity to meet someone as a partner because it was difficult for any girl to be tailing me wherever I was, and I always knew that when I didn't want something, I was going to move on.
So you didn't try to get somebody to tail you up wherever you go?
Well, I think the girl will follow you to a certain degree because it's like you're not even married. First, I don't have money to get married. I don't have time to nurture the relationship. and therefore there are no guarantees for her. So
riding on.
Yes, riding on. And by the time I finished electrophysiology, and I never failed a class after medical school and medical school throughout. I was already 36, right? So very difficult to form a proper relationship with someone that you have known when you had nothing, right? So yeah, you asked me a question. I said absolutely not. But this is one part of my life where I feel like I could have done things differently. But in terms of profession and the time is given me, because I have a daughter. My daughter is 22. Electrophysiology has given me the platform to be able to be a present father. Once again, I like the word you used earlier on, demystify black fathers as absent fathers. Because one of the things when I went with the community health department to go to hostel dwellers, rural areas, I saw the young men my age at the time being taken away from their families to be in Johannesburg for 50 weeks, and you expect this person not to form a relationship with someone else. Not that I'm condoning it, but they were from Transkei, from rural KZN. You can't go back home even if you have a wife or a girlfriend. So they end up being absent. I'm not condoning some of the things. There are absent black fathers, but electrophysiology in particular, because it's very elective. It's very elective. So it gave me time to be...
Emergencies, yeah. Everything is planned.
Everything is planned. In the last 15 years since I've been back, I've probably been called 5 times. So it gives me very good quality of life. And my daughter, I was able to raise my daughter with her mom, of course, even though we were not together. She lives in Johannesburg, a wonderful, wonderful woman. I wish I could coin a term for her, because most of the time when you talk about baby mamas, it's in a negative connotation, right? She was wonderful. But my journey to electrophysiology helped me to be a present father, and that cannot be taken away by anyone or anything, because we formed a close bond when she was young. So yeah, even though I regret social part of life, but electrophysiology and cardiology has given me that platform to
catch up.
So because most cardiologists are divorced 2-3 times because they are hardly home, or if they are not divorced, they are alienated from their kids because they are hardly home. Right.
Funny you saying this, because I do the show with my son, and my daughter join from time to time when she can. And they interviewed me. The one thing I think that my daughter asked me about, if there was any strategy to raise the kids, and I said, yeah, I had a very good strategy. I stayed close to you and trying to guide you through, but allow you to make your own decisions in terms of what you wanted to be. My daughter wanted to be a mining engineer. I don't know why. She was just passionate about the engineering. It's like, funny you saying what you're saying, that most cardiologists are divorced. That time, I worked in a infectious diseases kind of a trade or drug company side, and I was seeing divorce rates were quite high in the mining sector, because by location, mines are in remote areas, and I saw that miners tend to abuse alcohol, and divorce rate quite high, and I was just having those discussions with her and said, look, think about all that, and it's also a men's world. You don't want to go there. And fortunately, I didn't force her. She kind of made her own mind to go more into the commerce world. But I mean, how do you connect and spend time with your daughter? You're saying electrophysiology allow you to, really be a present father, but how do you, a little bit of more details, because you've been high level with details.
So the beauty of it is that when we think of cardiology, so electrophysiology, like you alluded earlier on, is that you have to be a specialist physician, complete that 4 years, then become trained in cardiology for 3 years, then additional 2 years of electrophysiology. But most people think of cardiologists as these guys who are treating heart attacks, who get called at 2 o'clock in the morning, on your way home, you have to make a U-turn. That's basically most what cardiologists do, and I think
That's
most
the
of
perception,
them.
yeah.
It's a perception and the truth, to be honest, because that's what happened, but maybe not as hectic as cardiologists make it to be. So electrophysiology is barring two conditions. If someone has a complete heart block, that means the electricity of the heart come to standstill, or the heart rate is so low that if nothing is done, the patient will probably die. And most junior doctors in cardiology can deal with that, putting a temporal pacemaker until the electrophysiologist can then decide on whether it's going to be permanent pacing or treat reversible causes. The other one is when someone is having a cardiac arrest, people, while they're playing soccer, my passionate sport, they can die on the scene. You don't need a cardiologist. You can defib those patients using the pedals at the airport.
Stabilize them, yeah.
Stabilize them. So those are the two, and those two don't really require an electrophysiologist. And then the rest is, it's planned, it's elective. So it allowed me to be present. I can be home if I wanted to at 2 in the afternoon, you know. So my daughter then went to a local school for 5 years, and then transferred to a girls' school. I'm going to mention it because recently it was rated in the top 100 in the world. I don't know how they do that, St. Anne's. So when she went to boarding school, then I started doing more hours. So so that was a good opportunity for me to be with her. Almost 20. I'll pick her. I'll drop in the morning and pick her up in the evening. We'll cook. We'll read. Because I've been big on read and teach her how to use a dictionary, have 5 words of the week. So it helped me a lot because my work was always elective. So that was great, and I've got no regrets when it comes to that.
Vacation, you travel together sometime?
Oh, a lot. Okay. So, and also, in a good way, I had the opportunity to go back to Canada twice. And a great guy said to me, look, you're going to just be a number there. Why don't you stay in South Africa and make a difference? And when I looked at the...
When you're in Canada?
Yeah, so I went to Canada to train electrophysiology. Then I came back.
Which city?
In Ottawa.
Ottawa.
Ottawa,
okay.
yes, Ottawa. Yeah. So I looked at remuneration of the doctors there and doctors in private practice. I'm glad to say that it was similar. And I said to myself, 4 months of a brutal winter away from formative friends that you form at high school, because we need those structures. You know, people, like I said, one of the most difficult things trying to get personal relationship for a spouse when you're older is different from someone you've known when you're young. So I decided to stay and be with my daughter because I'd asked her mom to raise her.
How did that go?
Well, she allowed me. That's why I say she's the best possible mom. And the raising,
you didn't have to bring lawyers?
Oh no, that's why I said she's a best person ever. That I hear all these torrid stories day in, day out of baby mamas. I need to coin a term for her. Yeah, so it went very well. It went very well, and but I was, Peter, I also made sure that I did everything to make sure that as a good mother, she doesn't miss out at saying my daughter is not raised by someone who's not present. For instance, I'll give you an example. So it's just the two of us. I'll come back to the vacation. After I tried to date, and I couldn't have expected relationship because I was dating people maybe who, you mentioned about your daughter, get into this space, you want a corner office. Before you get the corner office or your company runs well, you're also 35 as a woman. You never had babies. You want to start the family. I'd already started. And I like traveling. You just told me that you travel a lot. And I couldn't see myself having the energy and the time to do what I did for my daughter. And I said, I'm not going to have a second child if I don't think I'll give my whole as I did for my daughter. So it was difficult. So I decided for 2 years I didn't date because I also didn't want my daughter to be seeing different women all the time, coming in and out, you know. So that was a sacrifice. It was difficult, but I derived joy in that that I was teaching her certain values. You spoke about how you help your daughter to navigate to commerce, because it's also difficult as a professional and a woman, and something I'm very passionate about, women and a workspace, because I have a daughter that I love, and I know the challenges not just as a woman, but as a black woman, the challenges she's going to face. Anyway, so that afforded me to be with her, and the salaries as a cardiologist salary afforded me to travel a lot, because most of the meetings are also overseas, and companies like the ones that you used to run help doctors to be able to travel. Think about it. If I have a conference in California, I've got the hotel paid for, I've got flights paid for. All I have to do is to pay for my daughter or my partner. So traveling became extremely easy for me, and we've been to many countries with my daughter.
So, I mean, I know you're not with the mother.
Mm-hmm.
And on this show, we asked a lot of those connections. How did you meet her?
Oh, I'll never forget. She had this orange hair, so bright orange hair. A friend of mine, Sam Paul, he's an anesthesiologist based in Albertine. Sam was...
the orange hair.
I'll come back to that. So Sam is an anesthesiologist. Sam is from Polokwane, and Sam during the matric he was #1 in the country among black students. Yeah. So he was very smart, but he came from an area. He was smart. He was different. Yeah. Sam one day says he's having a party. We said, "What? Sam is hosting a party? What's going on?" I said, "I've got to attend this party." And there she was with bright orange hair, very different, stood heads and shoulders above every girl who was there. And I said, "Yeah." I went to her. She didn't want anything to do with me. First of all, I was wearing, I think I was wearing Brentwood. Don't laugh at me. And the hair and the cap up here. First of all, she didn't believe me that I work, let alone that I was a doctor. And today, she'd like to know you didn't look like a professional. So that's how I met her.
Did you say Brentwood?
Yes.
Okay.
But I wasn't wearing Floshem or Crooked & Jones. I was wearing Converse.
Yeah, no, just give me a date.
Yeah.
What time it was, or the era.
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking at you today, and don't forget the story how you met, because that's very juicy. Mm. You've kind of transformed a bit in terms of fashion of today.
Yeah.
The way you dress, very funky and modern.
Yeah.
Maybe the influence of your daughter.
Yeah, well, maybe she's into my nephew actually. So my younger brother's son. He's big. He's 32. He's a fashion icon. He likes in Zulu called Baba Mdala. Baba Mdala, don't you want to try this? Yeah. I said, not at my age. He says, no, man, please don't tell me about age. Okay. Yeah. So I like Njabule a lot. Yeah. So they changed that. But I mean, Brentwood, Converse was a feature of the day in the township. So we will work hard. I forgot to tell you. So my first job was a furniture removal. I was getting $10 a day, 10 rands a day as a furniture removal guy.
Where in Mlazi?
Mlazi. So what happened is that because we didn't have system like this, so I passed matric, and I didn't get a letter of confirmation of the bursary, and that I've been accepted to university, and then eventually I missed a year.
You had a gap year.
Yeah, I had a gap year that I hated. I hated my parents so much that particular year, because I said to them, we've always known that I want to go to university. We've always known that I don't want to end up like any other township boy. Why don't you save money? Which I look back and I regret, because it was very stern. I was unequivocal in my distaste of their failure as parents. We had 12 years from grade 1 to standard 10 to save. And then obviously my parents didn't have money, right? So I took a gap year. forced gap here. It sounds juicy. So I worked as a furniture removal guy. Peter, do you know what's one of the heaviest items in the household?
It depends. I mean, it could be a kist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
One of the movable things was a piano, because the
that
furniture
was,
removal.
That was fancy, right?
Oh no, it's fancy because no furniture removal for white people. I was working for this company because black people, if you move, put things in a box, you don't have much.
Yeah, I mean, part of the studio guys, one of the guys who I work with from time to time works in sound places, including where they sell pianos, and we always talk about it, how to transport a piano. It's very complicated,
Yes.
and to move it around. So
Yeah.
you had a chance to move a piano?
Oh, yeah. One of the heaviest. And remember, I was 18 at the time, so I finished matric at 17. I was skinny.
Still skinny, and
actually, I can tell I was weighing 57 kilograms, because that was my weight throughout medical school. I was active as a young boy. Piano is damn heavy. So it was a miserable year, but we spoke about dreams coming to an end, expiration days. But there are also dreams that you're the only one that you should determine the outcome of your dreams. One of the best movies that I like, fortunately, is based on a beautiful black history, is Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
With
Will Smith.
Will Smith.
Yeah. When everyone else tells you, and good people, and it comes from a good place. You know what, Brian? Forget about this. And a personal story for me is my father came from a polygamous marriage. He has got 22 siblings. They're 23. His father had 5 wives. And he was a train announcer. There's a train coming from Umlazi going to Okamashu.
Oh, that was cool.
It was cool if you've got 2 kids. It's not cool if you've got 23 kids. So my father left school at the age of 11, started working at the age of 12. So we can imagine that there's no way they could afford me to go to any form of tertiary education, right? So that was a terrible year, and I do regret that a bit. But we've since spoken about it, and also as an adult, see where they came from. There's absolutely no way. It was a system. The system was there to paralyze a certain sector of South Africa, and they were successful in doing that. That's why, for me, my dream was that no matter what, the system is not going to break me. I refuse to be broken by the system.
Not taking no for an answer.
Yes, yeah. My dream as a soccer player, it had to come to an end, no regret. My dream to be something, and you asked me, how was it a doctor? I didn't know. But eventually when I got to medical school, I said, I'm not just going to be any other doctor. I want this. So it's a personal thing where this dream, I'm going to persevere. This dream, I have to let go.
What's your relationship with your siblings today?
Man, Peter, do you have to go there?
It's very important and part of you.
Yeah. So
you don't want to talk about it?
No. Yeah. So my best friend is Trevor. Trevor comes from Davidson. And Trevor and I, we just clicked at medical school because we played soccer first team. And I remember I used to tell Trevor, I've got one brother. And I didn't go home. So how it works, you will know, the bursary will pay for January to November because December is closed. If you want to stay at rest in December, you've got to fork out money, right? So because I'd worked in a very informal setting, so I just went looking for a job. So I will pay for me to stay at rest because we didn't have a home. My parents always rented places, so I grew up in Umlazi. I know Umlazi like a back of my hand because sometimes, so Umlazi is divided to sections. In
typical township.
Yeah. So I grew up at G most of the time, but sometimes we'll be at F section. My parents would go there, so no, we don't stay there anymore. We got kicked out, now we stay at H, now we stay at Z. So I got to travel. But obviously I was embarrassed, right? So I'll tell Trevor, no man, I'm busy, I can't take you. Trevor was from Johannesburg, Davidson, East Rand. I said, no, let me just go and check you out and where you grew up. And Trevor only came to see me after I qualified because I was embarrassed, and like all kids, only when you older you realize it was not your fault, and sometimes not even your parents' fault. It's a system. It's a system. Yeah. So eventually, I'm like, oh man, that's not my fault. It's not probably even my parents' fault. I've got 8 siblings from 4 different mothers. My mom was the first one to be married to my dad, never divorced. My dad then married another woman. And when these kids, number one, my nephew that I spoke to you about, who's a fashion icon, comes from my brother, same mom, same dad. Okay. That's the only sibling I recognized because of the anger. Only when I grew up, I realized that I've lost time. These kids didn't ask to be brought here. It's not their fault. Yeah. So subsequently, there's certain things that you will always lose. So 5 of them, we okay, but it could be 6 months without talking. And then 3 of them, we're quite close. And actually, one particular brother, we're very, very close. We're more than just brothers. But it took me to wake up and be older and realizing that it's a system that we close. But it took forever for me to get to that. And I was very aloof intentionally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you will appreciate I also come from a very big family, and I have a general understanding of what you're talking about, although I come from a very big family of 10 kids, but from one mother and one father, which even right then I knew I learned a lot of social skills living in a big family setup like that. But, even my connection to some of my blood brothers and sisters has been not as great as it should be. Not because it was planned, but just so different, don't connect. And when you come from a big family like that, you got a kind of a choice of choosing your besties.
Within the family.
Within the family, yeah. Just, get along with this one or that one.
More than the other ones.
Yeah, and you just keep it that way.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just your life. That's the uniqueness, right? Somebody who grew up like you in a way with you and your brother, you don't have that exposure of having a little bit of that overcrowding of having to deal with that overcrowding, of forced.
So that was a relationship but I'm glad you asked that question because it's not something that most people will ask, and people who may listen to this and like they only know Brian is having one brother. Yes, for me to be able to talk about it freely happened after medical school. So I must have been like 25, 26. I'm like, oh man, this is not their kid's fault. And it took actually 2 of them, the ones that I'm closest with, they were quite unwell health-wise. And obviously as a doctor, they will reach out to me and we then started forming a bond. So we're very close.
That way, yeah. You spoke about your favorite movie. Do you kind of collect movies? Because that's my favorite hobby. Movies.
Yeah. So I did my internship at Natal Spate, and obviously I didn't have any friends other than Trevor, and Trevor was from Johannesburg. So weekends he would go away to his family, to his friends, and so I started collecting CDs. I used to go to all those CD warehouses, spend hours going through CDs, and CD shops had DVDs.
DVDs.
So come to my house maybe one day, if you're in Devon, I've got still a collection of probably over 300 CDs and probably about 50 DVDs. So I like movies. And remember also, that was a platform to get a girl right, is to take the girl to the movies.
Yeah. Exactly. Just connect over movies. In fact, when my children interviewed me, were like, because I collect movies, I've got over 300 collections of movies. I moved from DVDs now to soft copies on my phone. I've got the whole collection sitting there. I can, because I watch them from producer and the director's eye, where I look at most movies as well come from books, true story, and maybe it's in like one of the movie that is not my favorite, but I like, is called Carlitos Way with Al Pacino.
Yes,
where
the
he
Carlitos
was
Way,
kinda
yes.
gangster in, I think, 1974, 75
Yeah.
in New York, how that worked. To produce the cars, the costume, the dress, even the music. If you probably collect music as well,
Yes,
even
yeah.
the music then,
Yeah.
to just make sense if you're making it today, also good. The other movie that I also like is a movie called The Bronx Tale, which just it's a simple story, but it's very grounded in the sense that family life, gangsters in the Italian side of the Bronx, and we talk about it a lot because my daughter went to University of Pretoria, and she was in the top 5, and they've got a relationship with
Text of next.
yeah, they've got a relationship with Fordham, which is a university in the Bronx. So I got to go there. So the movie is about the gangs and the lives with Robert De Niro and as a bus driver and all that.
I think I've watched Carlitos, but I don't think I've watched this, but I'm going to revisit both of them.
It's a very simple storyline, but grounded life in the sense that life is, I knew right then when I saw that movie that life is actually the same everywhere. Having been lucky to travel to many cities around the world, you said you studied in Ottawa, I've been to Toronto, I've been to Vancouver and Montreal. If you go deep into like how people live, certain things just remain the same.
Yeah.
And you see it in movies like that. But my favorite movie is a movie called Finding Forrester.
Oh, I watched that movie.
Yeah.
That's Sean Connery and young Glenn Mal. Yeah. He was into language.
Yeah. And
writing. Yes.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
Got him to write and all that. But again, earlier you spoke about the system. Even you look at the system in the U.S. as well, even in New York, where if you're black, you had very little chance for opportunities to progress. I mean, he got a scholarship because he was good in basketball.
Yeah.
Like literally, these guys, they recruit based on that talent for black kids, not because of like academic results. But I mean, you balance that.
And the system tries to keep them in that vessel, so it's difficult for them to venture into businesses. It's better now, but I remember that movie very well. Yeah.
But you also see how biased that professor was, because he's a black kid, because he comes from probably Queens or not the Bronx. He can't write so well.
Yeah.
Some sort of plagiarism was alleged on him, until.
Oh, you mean the one who was still hired?
Forrester.
Yeah. Not the one who was tutoring him. Remember there was that other professor who hated him. Like, how can you write so well?
That one. Yeah. It was like very interesting. And then, of course, the movie that I really like is Any Given Sunday.
Any Given Sunday. That's Samuel L. Jackson.
No, Al Pacino.
Is it Al Pacino? Any Given Sunday? Which one? I think? Coach. Oh, that's just Coach Carter. I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you think about Coach Carter. It's Al Pacino coaching some American football teams, and with Jamie Foxx as a player who was brought in, and really the motivational speech and all that. But how the family business worked in running that team, because the father passed and the daughter kind of took over.
Step in. Yeah. No, it's funny, some of these movies, even though there's a fiction or they're based on a true story, like Pursuit of Happiness, that I really liked, and in terms of defining one's dreams. You're talking about these movies from perspective of the director and the writer, but you also talk about just the fundamentals of life, pretty much similar. Even though your social structure determines who you are, what are your permutations. For me, the movie that, among many other movies, was Boys in the Hood, for one particular reason. So two things is, one, I look at these two boys who want to leave the township. They're trying to leave the township, but it's just difficult. It just swallows you. It's like a vortex, keep pulling you. One does, well, we assume that one does. It was a movie that shows you how difficult it is to live the system that was created to keep a certain sector of people down. The other part was a present father. Remember the present father to Cuba Gooding Jr., which was Samuel L. Jackson. No, it wasn't. It was the guy, and that we always mistake one for the other. Forgetting his name now, but the guy person who was talking about gentrification. I didn't even know what gentrification means. Every corner in the township selling drugs, selling alcohol. The government allows it so that it keeps these people down. So for me, that movie, it showed the dreams of wanting to leave a place because it doesn't work for you anymore, or maybe never did. And also the other part was its present father, because I'm very passionate about black guys as present fathers. I also know, because you have to be honest with yourself, that there are guys with meaningful jobs and they make enough money, but they spend their money with different women at the clubs, but the kids go to a local school. So those are real absent fathers. Yeah, but by and large, the stereotype of a black man being an absent father came from migrant labor system, came from oppression, came from stereotyping. So that movie for me was like, you can come from this system, and if as a black man, young black man, think about having a child, what it means to you to have a child and be present. So I like that movie for those two different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, a movie that's similar but not the same. The first movie that Denzel Washington directed, Anton Fisher's Story, which I mean talks about, Anton, who was kind of, I think he was born in prison and became an orphan and ended up in the Navy.
Yes.
But he had so much anger because you think about his journey when he lived in that family, he was abused and beaten up, and then went to prison a little bit and went to the army, and he was just fighting there. And Denzel, as a kind of a shrink at the Navy, trying to help him out. But the minute they were connecting, was saying, "In my family," but he kept on saying, "Go find your own family." And when he eventually did, it was quite a touching. You remember you?
Yes, I watched that movie. Yeah,
found his mom and was trying to connect with her. The mother couldn't even face him. But talks about starting from really the bottom to where he was.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it alludes to the fact that, sometimes we take certain things for granted. I know it sounds cliche, but sometimes very difficult as the time passes to reconnect or rekindle certain relationships, because we always think, okay, like you're saying, go find a family, time elapses. And unfortunately, certain relationships, if you don't nurture them early on,
there's just no spark, there's no connection. So moving on, what's your motto in life? I kind of grew up, with this motto by Marcus Cicero, which basically it says, the good of the people is the chief law. That
the good of the people is the chief law.
Yeah, everything else about either companies or government, if you look after the people, which is really the primary responsibility, everything else falls into place, which obviously at an individual level, I think, as you said, helps you to be a present father who's really nudging and channeling and helping your kids, or in your case, your daughter, to be the best that she can be.
I just want to ask you something on that topic you've just raised now. The good of the people is the
chief law.
Yeah. I mean, do you believe that as human beings, there is that innate part of us inborn that we could be very evil for no particular reason? Because you're talking about the good in people, like you're nurturing people, you're good to them, they usually return the favor. But do you believe that, like some of us are just like born with, because you see these atrocities, or vice versa, you get someone who's giving so much love, but they just can't reciprocate. I mean, they just like, maybe it's in their nature. I know it's something we can talk about some other time, but in the township, you see a lot of that, but probably also in other places. I can only speak about the township because that's what I know best. Sometimes it's just like, oh, Jesus.
But I've got enough, I mean, you're a scientist. I've got enough kind of data to prove that most of the people or kids are born well. It's the external factors and influence that really shape you. You know, the other stuff I agree is, you know, DNA, it's in the blood and all that. But a lot of it is shaped by, you know, how you're raised, where you grew up, how you were influenced and all that. Because even I look at my the age gap between my daughter and my son is 4 years. I look at them, they grew up in the same house, they're not the same. Because even if we raised them as parents, we were different when we raised my son than when we raised my daughter.
Yeah.
So, and also the outside world just been quite different.
Yeah.
But then push it a little bit forward to my brother, as kids and mine, same kind of brothers. They're completely different in beliefs and systems, and I still believe that a lot of it is environmental, it's external, it's the way you're influenced and raised in a lot of things. I have a best friend who from Prague. He's a Czech, and when I met with him, we just connected very well. I remember. I met him in Berlin, and I was just quite surprised by the deep connection. And he thinks he's black, he's white. I know it's freaky.
Yeah, so you had that instant connection.
Yeah, we had that good connection, and it's deep. But then I look at his beliefs, because he lived into the time of communism a little bit
in
Eastern Europe, you know, Czechoslovakia. Before, you know, he worked and ran businesses in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and but his beliefs are whack. Like, he lost his best girlfriend because he didn't want to get married, he didn't want children, but he was quite happy to say, Peter, I want to support the needy child or children in Africa. I can pay their school fees and everything else.
But not his own.
Not his own. And he doesn't believe in religion or God, and but he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So then he invited me to come to Prague one time, and I went there. And that time he was staying in a probably a block of flat, like a building which had probably about 60 apartments, which he owned, but he stayed in one building, one apartment in
this building.
Yeah, and he said it was given to him by his grandfather, because remember, in communism they took everybody's property.
Yes.
And then when they said no more communism, they had a record, they returned that stuff.
Yeah.
And his grandfather gave him the building,
which
he eventually sold and bought a one penthouse for 3-bedroom in town, and finished. The money was gone with the whole thing. But that, you know, I think I tried to answer your question in probably in the most elaborate way, but I still believe that everybody's kind of born well, wants to do well, but just influence and associations that people keep and grow under shape them to be either evil and all that. I mean, think about people who joins the gangs. Some of them are the pastor's kids and come from a real good way, and they learn the ropes because they're just tired of the other stuff.
The reason why I'm asking you that, because I mean, obviously you've traveled a lot. My daughter created this under my profile. I've traveled about 16% of the world. So the best by far. Recently, I went to Rwanda. So you know what happened in South Africa in 1994, and what happened to them. They killed more than 1 million people. Of the 6 million people, that's almost 20%. And hopefully I'm correct in this. So I didn't know that the Tutsis and the Hutus and the Twa, those are the three
Tribes.
tribes. It was based on what your living is. So if you're a farm worker, you are a Hutu. If you're cattle and you've got more than 10, then you are a Tutsi. And then if you a hunter, you are a Twa, right? I always thought maybe it's like in South Africa, maybe Musutu, Zulu, Xhosa. And we know what happened in our history, that in KZN at least, there was a huge friction between Zulus and Xhosas. It almost came to civil war. There in Rwanda, it turned out that they're the same language. They look the same. The religion is the same. The food is the same. It was just like you're a farmer, you're a hunter, you're a cattle herder. And those people turn on each other because we touched on that environment. And to date, what they've done very well. I remember actually your company took me to Uganda in 2012, and I met these two ladies of the night. So I was at the hotel, and they were doing their business. I said, "Oh, let me sit with them. I mean,
talk to them."
Yeah, talk to them. And then I said, because my little knowledge channel, like, oh, I read about the Rwandese and then. So are you a Tutsi or Hutu?
They educated you.
They educated me, and so initially I didn't get it because like. I said, no, we're Rwandese. I said, no, I understand, but in Rwanda we've got this, we're Rwandese. And turned out that the culture they've inculcated into them is that you're Rwandese. You're not Tutsi anymore, you're not Hutu anymore, you're not Twa anymore. But it had to come at a price, and you touched on it, the environment. The environment made it easy to hate on each other, even though they were neighbors, because people were killed by the neighbors. Because we speak the same language, right? Yeah. How do you know that Kimusutu or Zulu? It's the same language. Just know that this is who you are, and then you'll be killed by those people. And I like, there was a book called, I still have it, called The Lucifer Effect, where this guy, basically make other people wardens, experiment, all university students, others are prisoners, and they say, you can do whatever you want to these guys except beating them up physically. And it's just amazing how people can switch like this. And it's something that in South Africa that we need to learn, that we are human beings, and these external factors that you spoke about should not play a major role in hating, because I come from KZ and all sorts of things happen there. Earlier on we spoke about traditional healers who are intertwined in our health system. But anyway, coming back, I like that subject. We'll talk about it some other time. Yeah. But coming back to your question, my motto in life, I like being selfish.
Okay.
Selfish.
Tell me more about that.
So selfish in my definition is the opposite of weakness, and very much opposite of wickedness. When I talk about selfish, because I look back and I was very selfish. We touched on the subject of how it was difficult for me to form a relationship, because I was very selfish. I wanted this, I wanted that, and I thought I could get it, and I did get it. But I was selfish in the sense that I felt at the time that having a relationship was not important, which was unfortunate for someone who really wanted to spend time with me. But maybe I would have regretted that. So I've always wanted what I want, and fortunately I knew that if I could get to that and be happy, and then people around me that I love would be happy. So selfishness in the way that I'm not talking about backstabbing and I want to go back. It's the opposite of being weakness. It's the opposite of being wicked. Because as soon as you say you're selfish, people say, oh, okay.
Take it in the wrong connotation.
So I just want to get what, and I think at the moment I'm quite happy. I'm seeing someone. She's quite good to me. But if I'd met her when I was trying to run away from me, it was never going to work. But now I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm here today.
And you're ready.
And I think I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready. I think I'm ready. People always ask me, so how was the test? I said, well, I don't know. Well, only when I get the result, then I'll tell you it was easy or difficult. Because you never know in life. So my motto is like really selfishness. Maybe I should put in a sentence. selfishness in pursuit of my personal happiness. Because if I'm happy, I believe that the people around me will be happy with me, and I can serve them better. Because the one thing you haven't asked me if I have split personality. I think I do.
Yeah, I figured that out a long time.
It took me some time because, Peter, at work, I'm the most pleasant person. I learned that very early on, that the auxiliary staff, the nurses, the radiographers, the porters, I can't work without them. So I will use the word bribe. I'll see a porter give 20 rands and do this. I will, particularly as an intern, because I wanted to learn from the nurses because they've been there before me, give them money, buy them lunch. So I'm very different. Come to personal life, very rigid, very, very rigid.
Yeah, I've
there's,
seen.
there's less space for somebody else's opinion, and that's what I've been trying to deal with. And when my friend Bongani passed, I decided, because to me, probably other than my father, everyone thinks that their fathers and their mothers are the most intelligent people. In workspace, Bongani was by far the most intelligent person I've ever met as a doctor. So when he passed, and the way he passed, I said, what chances do I have to survive when the guy like this? Let me tell you a bit about Bongani. He had one girlfriend in medical school. He knew he was going to marry her. He came from a good family. His father was a gynecologist. His mother was a rich nurse. So by any means, even today, he came from upper middle class. But he didn't abuse that. Bongani was very, very structured, very structured. So when he passed, I said, if a guy as organized as that can do that, what about me? So I went to a psychiatrist.
So you're depressed a little bit?
A bit more, not just
More
a little
than
bit.
that?
Yeah,
Oh.
because I ended up on medication.
Oh,
So I was on
damn.
medication for about a year. But halfway through, so I went to a lady who used to be the head of department of psychiatry when I was in medical school. So I said, well, it's a real McCoy. And then at the end of 6 months, and I was particular about my medication. I was taking my medication, and she said, do you feel any different? And to be honest, I didn't feel different, but I was happy that I was seeing her because of the possibilities of not knowing that you're sick until it's late. You take your own life, or you had someone else.
Yeah.
You have anger issues. I was very angry. Probably still very angry at how I grew up. So, but it's funny because at work, I'm probably the most pleasant person. When it comes to patient care, obviously you have to be rigid. But in personal space, it's very difficult to date someone like me because somehow, and I want to go back to a psychiatrist, and because I'm thinking I'm very rigid in my social life. I want things my way. If you take a shower, and don't clean after yourself, if you go to bed with dirty dishes in the sink, I lose my gasket. And I'm like, is it that important? That your partner must wash your own dishes. But it bothers me so much.
It's funny because I wish my son was here because kind of indoctrinated them to that level of cleanness. And he always had a different view on some of those things. Like, nobody goes to bed with dirty dishes, and it's going to be your responsibility.
Yeah.
And your sister, you sort it out.
Yeah.
And even today, it's like, and I remember he was really pushing me to say, look, this is complicated. You have to buy a washing machine. Like then when he was 12, and now he's old.
Yeah.
I was like, the washing machine, we on number 2. And he operates and make sure that is like done.
Yeah.
And he doesn't complain about it because it's just his life.
Yeah, so that's the split personality in me, and that's the weaknesses. And the reason why I'm touching on mental health, you will know, you at a high level in one of the biggest companies in the world, and you were heading that company, you know the difficulties that come with it. But we also, as professionals, you and me, I think we do neglect our mental health, and we are afraid as men to talk about it.
Yeah, we touch a lot about on this show. In fact, we've done 2 or 3 in-person shows because I'm a fellow at Gibbs at the business school, where we bring mental wellness, physical wellness, and financial wellness. But leadership, mental wellness in leadership has been kind of a standalone topic, where we bring a shrink to kind of bring how the intel about how to deal with it and how it manifests into workspaces, how to cope with it. So it's a big problem. Some of the people who featured on the show have, just like you, confessed to be taking some pills to keep them in balance. And I'm talking about CEOs of big businesses. Some are scared to talk about it, but it's a big thing. The other is sleep, the importance of sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't know how many hours you do a night, on a good night.
Funny you should talk about that. So just yesterday was so one of most of the procedures we do in conjunction with anesthesiologists. It's a big group. There's this guy. Every time he puts a patient to sleep, he will go and play Sudoku. I like Sudoku. I play all the puzzles, and one day he was telling me, "Oh, I spent so much money on a first class." Because I said, "Why? If you complain about it, it's nice there. If you can afford it, so what?" He said, "No, I did because I wanted to sleep." I was like, taken aback. What do you mean? He says, "Look," so he did a genetic profile and then realized that it's at the highest end of probability. He's probably like maybe 48. He's still youngish. Yeah, but he's mortified at the thought that he may get dementia at the age of 60 or 65. So we started looking at dementia because both my parents are hypertensive diabetic. Unfortunately, both of them got a stroke within 6 months of each other.
Sorry.
But those things, they will also decrease the cognitive capability. One of the biggest thing is sleep, or deprivation of sleep. And what I didn't know until I met Matt and we started talking about it is that you can't compensate for the lost sleep. So this is me. I will get 4 hours Monday to Thursday, and then Saturday, Sunday, sleep for 12 hours. But apparently, obviously, I'm not a scholar in this subject. You can't sleep 12 hours and then other days you sleep 2-3 hours and compensate. Apparently, you can't. When you lose that sleep, it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. So sleep is huge. It's huge, and it's something that when my daughter when I was trying to be a super dad, I would come home. We spoke about how schoolwork. So and I like studying myself. So make sure that she studies. I'll study. I'll cook. I'll clean. Eventually, I said I needed help because before I know it, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I have to do reports. I have to maybe touch on the things I'm going to be doing the following day. And I wasn't getting much sleep. My blood pressure went high. I started taking medication for high blood pressure. And now my daughter is at university, and I've got more time. It's becoming more decent.
To do 6-8 hours of sleep.
Yeah. But it's something that it's
not always
big.
like that.
Yeah.
So, do you have any questions, any comments? A moment for you to revenge. I've been asking you all the questions.
Well, sorry to interject. Go ahead.
Yeah, the nice part of the show as well is to allow the guests to ask some questions to me and my son if it's here.
Yeah. Well, the foremost thing for me is that thank you for inviting me. I'm new in this space of social platforms. So thank you very much. I remember first time I met you, and obviously there's that aura about you. I first met David and Melanie, and they told me about you. People who were closer in terms of physical space, people who work under you. And obviously we never got close, you know,
Yeah.
because I mean, you were running a business, I was running my small business, but we're always, at least as few black cardiologists, honored. And the regret is that I never told you to see someone at your level doing what he was doing. So, and when I heard that you left, I really wanted to ring you and say, Peter, I'm sorry I never said, you know, what you're doing and the platform and the pedestal you're giving people, you know, that it can be done. So then your name came up, and then this lady, she was recently with Boston Scientific, so she just left a couple of weeks ago. And we spoke about you again. She knows you quite well, because when I met her, I said, look, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I've never been in the industry, but you are black, you are female, and unfortunately you don't have people to look up to, or you don't have many people to look up to. So I don't know what were your challenges. I'll come back to that. So I said, reach out to Peter, and I think she did, and unfortunately we met about 3 weeks ago, and she told me that she's leaving the company. So in that space, Peter,
Yeah.
how, we know it's difficult, so you don't have to say it's difficult.
Yeah.
How difficult it is as a CEO, period, and as a CEO who's black.
Look, I mean, just looking back to your personal story, how you're relating where your parents came from, it's similar, not the same. I was lucky in the sense that I was afforded to be an MD when I was 36. I started at Becton Dickinson, another American company, which gave me. I just finished my MBA, and I applied. I left Sanofi to run the diagnostic business for Africa, which allowed me to travel to 40-something countries around the continent and blast the world. What has been for me challenging is, and I can't brag about this, the experience of always being the only black guy in the room. So, for instance, I mean, we'll be having a meeting in San Diego or Arizona, Phoenix, or San Francisco, even Vancouver. I'll always be the only black guy in the room, business meeting, and sometimes you get this unconscious bias about, if we talk about Africa, because global meetings that you go to, but in your speciality, where they'll say, okay, what does Peter think? And you feel like it's a loaded question. So it's been bittersweet to the extent that I had to write a book, Winning in Africa, Your Next 8 Moves. Earlier you spoke about the fact that you traveled to 16% of the world. I've been to 58% of the world. Not to make you jealous, but I mean, it's quite painful. But earlier we spoke about things that shape you. Nobody was born this way. I got shaped in taking no nonsense from anybody. People say Peter is arrogant because I kind of, know enough to know that when I had opportunities to take up a job overseas and relocate, BD was very kind enough to allow me to kind of test the waters before I go. And I realized the weather is horrible. The world's perception of black people is the same everywhere. Don't be fooled. Top cardiologist. It's the same. I had opportunity to work and live in New Jersey, and I looked at it. As much as I like that part of the world, I'm better in Africa to be able to continue to make the difference and the impact that I'm doing. So it's been. I actually realized recently when I did a master class on my book and talking to people how impactful it's been, living through the lives and the good and the bad and the ugly. Because in life, it's not just one thing; it's a mix. For instance, when I joined Medtronic, I didn't know the case that that lady who stole half a
Embezzlement,
billion,
yeah.
and I remember that time I always joke. I interviewed for 2 jobs. The Hewlett, the sugar company in KZN, was looking for a CEO because they had a property and sugar fields everywhere, and Medtronic was looking for that. And applying for this regional CEO job is quite a heavy because they just put you through psychometric tests for a day. You go overseas, spend the whole day doing interviews by different stakeholders to really check. And then the second day, they put you into a leadership lab after reading a 100-page case study to simulate how you run this company and how you do it.
I didn't know you have to go through that.
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah.
So I did that for the 2 companies, and then the fun fact is the CEOs were living on those companies, their names were Peter, and I'm Peter. And then when I joined
Something
Medtronic,
good in the name, yeah.
I realized that even the CFO was Peter. The Peter Fuller was Australian guy who left and went back. And I always joke and say, you know, if you are about to expecting kids and you get a baby boy, name them Peter.
They'll do well in business at least.
So when you've been to Medtronic, many meeting rooms, there's this meeting room called Kenya. When we have really difficult discussions, we'll have it in there because the meeting room without windows on the first floor, so nobody jumps out if they don't like the system. So when they told me that the whole story and I had to go to the courts and deal with it was probably, I lost a lot of sleep just dealing with those details of how the lady blew the money. And because the case was still at the courts, we can talk about it. But she actually stole the money from SARS, not from the company. But the way she blew the money was like crazy. I mean, every time I was reading those details, because there were files up to the roof of how she spent 537 million over 11 years. I mean, one of those was, and I talk about it often, one was that like she bought the son who was making 18 years gift, Lamborghini Gallardo, as a gift for making 18.
But still, people didn't pick it up that there was something wrong.
But I mean, I look at it, I think, the way she disguised it, because apparently it was before my time, she would come to work in a Picanto, but she had a last number Range Rover, Bentley, everything. And actually, the story is, I lived in Boksburg in Sunward Park area.
I know Sunward Park.
Yeah, I still have a property there. And she bought a house in a suburb called Cinderella. So you can imagine the media, they said Cinderella from Boksburg.
Yeah.
She put this mansion and, you know, you see the kind of the nice part of the story, but having to go to court and deal with those, it's something else.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember I was a CEO at BD, and then they had a chance to go into private equity, started doing the whole RH Wupelo, invested money into Wisament to buy those Gateway and Hillcrest. I was chairing those investment committee.
Okay.
And then Barta Flay,
And then in the Western Cape, yes.
Yeah, all that. But they had a RH Wupelo was a company that we went on a roadshow, raised the money, and started buying those hospitals and put it together. Yeah. I was the only healthcare guy in the group, said a banker and a commercial lawyer, to put that together.
Yeah.
So it's been a cocktail of experience and life and doing this, and it's not been easy. You said I shouldn't use the word difficult.
Because you already know it's difficult.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember when I was at BD, I had to make a case to go direct with the business, which was sitting with distributors, and say, look, this business, we can double it or triple it in 3 years if we run it ourselves. And to take it out of, you can imagine in South Africa, the distributors are the white guys. And there's the young black guy trying to take the business. I mean, I take him to the highest courts, and that's where I met the legal profession, having to deal with the lawyers at Liv Decker on a daily basis. But how also, unlike in your profession, lawyers also have their own culture where rank is a big thing. Like, if you're not a partner, we send you around. In some cases, you can eat with us, and which is so crazy. So I remember going to Cliff Dicker to sign 750 something pages of a document to initial and sign, and they had a nice Mont Blanc pen and good supply of coffee, and called a candidate attorney to page for me. As I signed, like literally just paging us.
And this is a professional paging for you.
That's part of their job. And I was few times I used to go to Nigeria quite a bit. And Nigeria, being Nigeria, you will get a visa for only 3 months. So you go once in 3 months, but you go back again in another 6 months. You have to go visa and go on your own. And going to Nigerian consulate in Lilovo here in Joburg was always painful. But the lawyers, they will get the junior people to go do it for them, queue for them. It's like, this is an interesting profession.
Yeah. It's. I'm just something very personal. Like, we don't know each other that well. Obviously, we're as few black cardiologists. We're very happy to have you at that helm, irrespective of the company. But it just happened to be one of the biggest companies, and the nuances was that this lady, after she did what she did, obviously Medtronic was never the same. Right? You guys came at the wrong time, and most representative of the companies in where you were before are still not people of color. And you could hear the whisperings, even though they will not say to me, of course, that this is happening. It's a nuance. They never say it in words, maybe because there's a change in leadership, there's a change in that. And it was quite painful. But I think what was more painful for me as an individual, obviously I've got no influence in the industry, is pick up a phone and say, Peter, how are you doing? That was my biggest regret. So when you reach out to me, I cry easily. I almost cried because I was like, you know what, I have to discuss this with Peter, because I feel that as a black, I can speak for myself, as a black cardiologist, at the top of my game, because I think I'm really good at what I do. I never pick up a phone and say, how are you doing? Probably wouldn't have mattered, but I mean, it became very uncomfortable with the company, because you could, the nuances, the whispers in the corridors, that Medtronic is like this because, and David came, of course, so it was difficult. And to be honest, I just want to say I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. Not that I needed to, but as a brother to brother. So it's more of a comment than anything. And when I met the lady from Boston Scientific, the first thing I said to her, this like 3 years ago, reach out to Peter. I don't know him well, but he's a guy who's in your position. But also I don't know the hierarchy between the two of you, but she was holding a quite high position. I sent it to you. I don't know if she ever reached out, but it was one of those things that maybe we need to fix as black professionals, to be there for each other. Just to say, what's up, man? You good?
Yeah, look,
for 30 seconds.
Yeah, look, I mean, we connected a lot with some of your colleagues in that way. But I mean, for me, the one thing that I've been unapologetic about was the industry was not transformed, and I drove that. I was also lucky and blessed that at different times, I was for 4 years a chairman of the board for the summit, which is the sector thing. A lot of drive and change there. I was also vice president, vice chair at the American Chamber of Commerce, which is a chamber that kind of support all the 800 American companies that are here.
Yeah, so that was a saving grace. Sorry I need to get in there. So that was a saving grace for us, because if you I said, who is Peter? And then will hear what you've done, what you've achieved, so you can see that this person qualifies for this job. It's just probably someone that they don't want to be there, even though they never ever use that word. You know, it's a difficult time, and I'm not sure if it's a good thing. Is that you look at the company now, it's probably at more decline after you guys, well, speak about you. So yeah, it was just one of those things that I feel like, you know, as a black cardiologist, I should have just picked up a call. You know, it was never going to make a difference, but just to know, because when I look at, so I remember Bongani before he passed. You know, Bongani and I were quite close. He passed on a Friday. We were just talking about our scientific meetings on a Wednesday. He told me that he was not well in 2016 when this thing, fees must fall. You remember fees must fall.
Yeah.
And Bongani was, I'm not tall. Bongani was shorter than me, and was small. And he was telling me that one of the most difficult thing was being called a coconut, and Bongani couldn't be the furthest thing, but Bongani told me that he was lonely. One of the few things he told me, Brian, I'm lonely, and
it's tough at the top.
It's tough at the top. We've got no one to look up to. You've got people who look up to you, but who do you look up to? You've got your equals at best.
Yeah. It's,
and sometimes you don't want to show your weakness, or you know that your weakness, or not the weakness, wrong word, not your weakness, your situation.
Vulnerable, yeah.
So
but
thank you very much, man.
Thanks a lot.
You for having
Appreciate
me here because,
you
really,
finally making the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll edit this and let's connect more. Maybe we can exchange a lot of notes on the social media education side of things, because this is also about spotlighting.
Yeah.
Hot
But I also want
topics,
to read your book. So I'm going to Kenya tomorrow for our scientific meeting, and I've got time, so I really like to know you a bit better. And I'm being honest when I say that.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying for the show, because people like Bongani, he's late. People like yourself, you know, they're pathfinders. You know, other people look at me as a pathfinder as well, and I'm glad. There's a song, I was invited to talk at the medical school graduation 2 weeks ago. The first thing I said, no, I don't want to. And suddenly I remember this song by John Legend, and say, why can it be us? Why can't it be me?
I remember the song,
Yeah. That made me change my mind, because sometimes you don't realize your importance, right?
Yeah.
No, purely because maybe you're humble, purely because maybe you still want to achieve more, so where you are, you're not satisfied with that. So why can't it be us, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you probably need to do more in terms of that education, and you've taken a big step to get that going. Maybe even I don't know, a radio show that is 30 minutes to, you know, talk about some of this, you know, issues of the heart, because you don't know how much impact you have on people on these things, because I realized how many people are impacted that sometimes I meet them on congresses or conferences or meetings and say, you know, when you said that and did that, it helped me to finish my degree. It just gave me that, you know.
Yeah, we do need to be uplifted by certain people that you look up to, right? And yeah, thank you very much for having me here.
Cool.
We'll do it again.
Thanks.